Vai. Ciao ragazzi, benvenuti a una nuova puntata dei Mangiavventure. Stavolta, nella puntata di oggi, intervisteremo due giovani sviluppatori finlandesi che fanno parte del team di Platonic Partnership, che sono i creatori di Lydia, di Good Morning e un altro titolo che poi ci presenteranno nel corso della puntata. E Federico e Michele oggi non ci sono. Dio, Michele in realtà sì, mi è dietro le quinte. Federico invece era impegnato con un'altra live, quindi oggi farò un po' da traduttore e presentatore, quindi incrociamo le dita e speriamo che tutto vada bene effettivamente. E vi presento intanto Juno e Jussi, che sono, come vi dicevo, alcuni membri del team di questo talentuoso team finlandese. E, ragazzi, volete presentarvi? Guys, if you want to start with the presentation, welcome to be here tonight. Juno e Jussi, Juho e Jussi. Decide to speak, who want to speak before. Introduce yourself. Tell to us about your role in your company and why you started to play video games, if you want.
So hi everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Jussi Loukiainen, and I'm the CEO of Platonic Partnership, and I'm also one of the co-founders in a company. And well,
a big introduction about yourself.
Yeah. So how I got into the video game. So basically, I have been wanting to make games as long as I can remember. Actually, I found this. I was visiting my mother's house, the house in which I grew up. I found this like a small notebook, and inside that notebook there was this like military strategy game. I have been like designing the game. I was roughly around 8 or 9 years old. So that's my first like a documented game design. There was like this X means it meant like a soldier, and then there was like a circle, it meant like a tank or something, and there was like a really small set of rules that how you move into on the board and stuff like that. It's really fun little finding. Yeah, so that's how we started. And actually my route to video games has not been like a straight line. I studied like economics in the university, but I still wanted to like make my thesis about games. So I went to the professor and asked, so would it be possible to make thesis about games? And the professor said that, okay, if you manage to do it all by yourself, because I cannot help you because I don't know anything about games. So okay, I will do it. And 3 months later, I just submitted my work, and I was done with it. But and after that, I started like a local IGDA chapter in Vaasa, west coast of Finland, where the company is located. And I also been active in developing the gaming scene here in this area, because although I wasn't myself back in the days, I wasn't developing games myself at the moment, but I want to give other people like opportunities to make games. So that's the way up, because at that time I was running the business incubator for the universities in the area. So it was only natural for me I was talking a lot about these new startups and new teams, and there were like several teams who wanted to make games. So that's how I got into I really got into this like a business development side of games. I helped them to make their like publishing deals and etc. So that's how I got started in the industry itself.
Oh, thank you. I will make the translation for the guys also. We may pass. Allora, come ci stavo dicendo, Jussi ha iniziato a essere un videogiocatore quando aveva circa 8-9 anni. Aveva iniziato poi giocando scoprendo un po' di giochi di strategia sul computer della mamma. You found the strategy game on PC of your mother, I understand. Is correct?
Yeah, yeah.
E fra già da quell'età ha avuto la passione proprio, gli era nata la passione per i videogiochi. Ma also only this kind of game, or you have a connection also with Adventure at this time? You found also point and click, you tried also console games, this kind of games, or you started with strategy and continued on PC game?
I think yeah.
Yes, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. I think my first console was Sega Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. So that's the all my friends had like a Nintendo's, but I had a Sega, so we had like a bitter rivalries because I was of course rooting for Sonic, and they like were rooting for Mario and stuff like that. But I have to admit that I really loved all the especially like a Castlevania series. That was really my favorite back in the days. And of course I almost forgot we had like a Commodore 64, which was like
just about to correct you. I would have hated you forever if you would have forgotten to mention Commodore 64.
I don't know what happened because we had a Commodore 64 because I had two older brothers.
Everybody had a Commodore 64 in Finland.
Exactly. It was like a huge thing in Finland. Juho has actually written a non-fiction book about Commodore 64 and its impact on Finnish like game industry. Yeah. So it's so that guy knows everything about Commodore 64 there is to know. And but Commodore 64 was my first game. I remember how proud I was when I was able to start the game with a command line. You had to like a I don't remember. Yeah. I watched how my brothers did it. I was like, then I wasn't able even to read back then. I was like 5 years old. And let's just memorize all the letters you have to push in order to make the game running, get it up and running. And then I said to my brother, "Oh, please come here, take a look." I was able to start the game all by myself, and he didn't believe me. You know, somebody else did that for you. I was so bitter for him, so that he didn't believe me. But yeah, so of course that's like Commodore 64, Sega Genesis, and then pretty soon PC after that.
Well, it's quite normal. I have the same. I followed the same line. I played on Atari, which yes, and also Commodore. I make a jump to the PC. I discovered the console in the last years. I played it on with my friend at their home. I destroyed some joypad. In fact, they hate me for that. The translation, ci dico agli Ussi che lui allora innanzitutto oltre a giocare a questi giochi su PC che aveva scoperto all'inizio ha avuto anche un po' come tutte le classiche console, però a differenza degli altri che avevano il Super Nintendo aveva il Sega Mega Drive e soprattutto aveva anche il Commodore 64 che è uno dei primi computer che sono per famiglie che sono stati poi distribuiti al tempo dal 1985 e dell'86. Erano abbastanza conosciuti poi in Finlandia, un po' come tutto il nord Europa. Anche qui in Italia ebbero un grandissimo successo. E ha trovato ovviamente tanti generi di giochi, poi ha trovato poi quelli che più gli piacevano. Comunque aveva una passione per i giochi di azione, quindi Castlevania, già Sonic abbiamo detto, comunque quelli legati comunque ai marchi Sega e anche a quelli della Commodore, che poi molti erano conversioni anche di giochi famosi. E dopodiché per quanto riguarda i suoi studi ha studiato economia all'università e ha fatto una tesi su quello che poi era il mercato dei videogiochi. Però come ci aveva raccontato ha chiesto al professore: posso fare una tesi su questo argomento? Ha detto sì, se riesce a farla da solo perché io non so minimamente come aiutarti su questo campo. E però se l'è cavata in ogni caso, è riuscito a fare una tesi proprio sull'industria dei videogiochi. Dopodiché aveva l'intenzione di creare videogiochi, l'aveva già in passato, solo che ha deciso, avendo poi le competenze diciamo a livello economico per sviluppare il business, ha fondato quella che poi è la compagnia che sta dirigendo, quindi che è Platonic Partnership, e si è unito a altri sviluppatori per andare a sviluppare poi quelli che sono i giochi che poi abbiamo visto pubblicati in questi anni. I said to our public that you have the mind you have the mind to manage the company. You have not the competence to develop the game. I understand this. I think is correct. But you have the ability to move in the game and industry. is correct, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I try to make a simplification in some way. Juho, you want to continue, introduce yourself. Thank you, Jussi, for your contribution.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Juho Kuorikoski. I'm one of the co-founders of Platonic Partnership. I'm probably game designer is a correct term for what I do there. But yeah, getting into the game industry has been, of course, a childhood dream for me as well. I've always played games since I was a little kid, and you know, Commodore 64 is a very important part of my story as well. I was 6 years old when my father bought that thing to me, and I didn't really understand what it was until it was plugged into this black and white TV. And I remember my dad giving me a joystick, and he said that move it left or right. It was this Space Invaders clone, and I still remember the feeling. I was absolutely flabbergasted that I could move stuff in the screen, and I could say that it was love at first sight. After that, the Nintendo Entertainment System was probably the console that I was using for several years, and then I jumped to PC. And almost immediately, I tried to play Doom a bit, but I find it a bit boring. So I fell in love with LucasArts adventure games and seras, and ever since that, it's been, you know, this nagging feeling in the head that it would be super cool to make something like that. Especially the Monkey Island games, they are very close to my heart, and I really remember fondly of the golden age of these point and click adventure games. So yeah, then we got together with Jussi and Henry and Juhan, and we formed our game company, and we made Lydia. So that's basically what happened, and it was a pretty, well, we get into that probably later, but you know, everything happened on a pretty rapid pace.
Allora, I translate the translation for the public. You make your formation in the school, some information what you have studied. You studied like a developer. You make particular course.
Well, my study history, I'm a software engineer from Seinäjoki Polytechnic. So, but I suck at programming. I'm terrible at it, and you know, I slept through the school, so no much help from there. And then I went to study communication sciences in the University of Vaasa. So my professional background is in journalism. I've been working as a news reporter for at least 10 years, and I've written several books about games, and I've been writing game reviews for Pelit magazine here in Finland. It was founded in '92, and it's probably one of the oldest gaming magazines in the world. And I've been working as a contributor to that magazine since 2009. So I worked as a journalist for, like I mentioned, over 10 years, and then I actually made a jump to games industry about a year ago. I've been, you know, I'm not working full-time at Platonic Partnership. I'm a game designer at Sepia Games, names company. But yeah, I think my background as a journalist, I've always been interested about stories, and I think that video games as a medium, they are a pretty unique way to, you know, tell the stories, because you can the interactivity creates this one-of-a-kind connection with the audience, where they become these active participants of the game instead of them just watching it. And I've been always very interested about the, you know, the link between the audience and the game. And I actually wrote a book in 2018. It was titled as Pelitaiteen manifesti in Finnish. Game Art Manifesto loosely translates to English, and it's a, you know, a study on how the games are you know, similar to other forms of art, just such as literature, sculpting, painting, and movie, but how they, you know, differentiate from them. And I think it was a pretty interesting project because it made me understand games a lot better, and appreciate them as an art form of their own.
For many aspects, the video games are a form of art, of interactive art that unite all the other kind of arts inside, because you have the music and the graphics, the literature, all in a single medium, some kind of evolution of the old medium.
Yeah, because you just described the main thesis of my book. It's this, I see games as that they are in a way a fusion of other older art forms, but they are distinct form of art because of interactivity, and that's basic. Yeah, and it's a pretty easy thing to say that games are art because of interactivity, but it also it breaks the whole thing, because if you take, for example, a piece of cinema or a novel, they have an author who tells a story, and you have to experience that from the perspective of the author. But when you play a game, basically a game developer just sets the stage, and the interpretation of the experience it's left for the player. So I think in this regard, the games are very, very different than other forms of art, because author is basically on the passenger seat when the player starts to play the game.
I will make the translation. Thank you. E come stavo dicendo, ci diceva Yuko, che lui ha iniziato a giocare un po' come hanno fatto insomma anche altri suoi colleghi con quelli che erano poi i classici giochi della Nintendo. Hanno giocato con il Commodore 64, ha un po' attraversato un po' il percorso che abbiamo fatto tutti quanti noi, almeno i vecchi giocatori, è passato poi alle console più avanzate e ovviamente in parallelo anche al PC. E quello che era stata la sua passione erano state ovviamente i giochi con la storia e soprattutto le avventure grafiche. Ha bellissimi ricordi dei giochi della LucasArts e della Sierra, che sono poi i classici che hanno aiutato un po' a formarsi come videogiocatore. Ha andato all'università, ha studiato. You say you studied like an engineer, it was correct?
Yeah. I'm a software engineer. Basically, I have a degree of a programmer, but I hope I never have to do that for a living.
Okay. Poi in caso è also a Science of Communication at University, giusto?
Yeah. It's communication studies is probably basically a reporter school.
I make the same kind of school, but a different direction. Was for the communication companies. It's more for marketing, that's more the communication. Poi ha studiato studi diciamo che di scienze della comunicazione, e ha lavorato per più di 10 anni come giornalista. Ha scritto vari libri sul mondo dei videogiochi, sull'intrattenimento, e ha fatto un altro libro molto interessante che analizzava il videogioco come forma d'arte. E poi vi lasciamo poi comunque i link poi sotto nel video, se volete consultarlo o comunque acquistarlo, in cui diciamo che ha dimostrato, parlava un po', ha analizzato il fenomeno del videogioco come forma d'arte che fosse per certi aspetti la somma di tutte le arti che noi tutti conosciamo, quindi quello che era il cinema, il teatro, la letteratura, la poesia, la musica, condensate in quello che è un nuovo medium, ovvero un medium interattivo. Thank you, Yuko. I make some error with the name. Sorry for this.
Yeah, no problem. You're not the first one. Because I think half the people in Finland, they screw it up, so it's totally okay.
Thank you. Now, for me, it's the first time that I make the presentation alone. So it's quite there is some emotion in this way. Allora, we can continue with the other questions. Just me a minute. I see. Allora, I would like to ask to you something about the company. when you created the company, who decided to make the studios? The idea that when is born the idea to I want to make we want to make a video game company, video game studios. Ai make the translation, mi sto chiedendo praticamente quando hanno deciso di creare quello che poi è lo studio che conosciamo, quindi Platonic Partnership, e come si è creato, e come hanno scelto anche questo nome. I want to ask you, allora, when the studio is born and why the name of the studios? Please decide who want to speak.
I think this is a question for you, Sin.
Yeah, I can start, and Juho can jump in if I forgot or tell terrible lies. So basically, the company was founded in 2017. It was originally Juho's and Henry's idea. Our like a main graphic artist, also co-founder. They want to make this like a King of Peasant adventure game based on Henry's, who is also a comic book artist. He's based on his comics. But I remember playing the early prototype, but and I remember you said that Juho that the initial plan that you had for the game, it was so huge, like a 40 plus hours long adventure game, like two guys developing games as a part-time job, because back in the days we were part-time developers. And I remember Juho was, then you want to make start the company. And I remember you were calling me, okay, you see, I have this question. How you were asking like all these practicalities on how to set up the company and all that stuff. And I was, back in the days, I was running the business incubator, so I was dealing about that stuff like on everyday basis. So then after like I don't remember how many calls, I just decided to say to you, okay, what if I jump in and I concentrate on the business side, and so you can concentrate on the like a game itself. And it was not long after that before the company was actually founded. And Lydia was already back in the day. It was in development pipeline. Yeah. And like I said, we were like a part-time developers back then. So
yeah, and you know, the initial plan was pretty crazy, because we were making this it was our first project, and yeah, it was this 40 plus hours long LucasArts style adventure game, including all these hardcore puzzles. And you know, the prototype, I actually found a version of it when I was going through my Google Drive, and I played it a couple of days ago, and it was actually pretty decent one, decent game. But we came to our senses. It was around that time that when you and Johanna were on board, and we tried, and we decided to do something a little more, you know, smaller scale to get the ball running. And that was basically when the idea of Lydia was born. But yeah, and it has been fun to see that when I watched you guys make the King of Peasants the way it is today, and when you compare it to the original vision, it's it would be fun to, you know, release the prototype game someday on what we got done.
Yeah, definitely. I remember also playing the prototype back in the days when you were asking for the help, and it was pretty good. I really like the Henry's graphics. They're like really great, and they instantly get like a Discworld kind of feeling.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it was just a quick note, we shot ourselves in the foot right from the get-go when we started making that game with the German adventure game engine, the Visionary Studio, and it was awful. And we actually started Lydia with that too, when we came to our senses and ported the thing to Unity.
Yeah. Yeah, we can tell about the development of Lydia later on, because it was a hell of a ride.
yeah, it was.
Yeah. The prototype was in for the first game was in pixel art, or was like diciamo, cartoon styles for this more classic video game.
Yeah, it was
prototype for the game.
Yeah, like a classic. Like a Sierra LucasArts kind of click and point and click game.
And you know, it was well, like I mentioned previously that I'm a huge fan of LucasArts games. So that was basically a one-on-one copy of that, their formula. So there would be these puzzles that are interlinked with story, and there would be these big hubs that you could explore, and there would be many puzzles that you could solve at the same time. And then, yeah, and we actually got a pretty solid design on that, but yeah, it was way too big project for a a starting game company.
Was too big project probably for the next time.
Yes.
Well, what must be a good idea for to retake to rework on it and developing it. So you have good experience now. So there is I hope there is the possibility to show this to the public one day. I will make the translation for the public. Allora, ci stavano dicendo che la compagnia aveva avuto 4 Yussi, che è stato poi il fondatore effettivo, il CEO, effettivamente quel fondatore. Ci sono stati anche gli altri ragazzi che hanno fondato con lui la compagnia. All'inizio comunque il gruppo era fatto tutto da, diciamo, non era un'attività a tempo pieno, ma un'attività per lo più part-time. Quindi c'era chi aveva fatto collaborazioni magari con su altri progetti e era impegnato a fare altri tipi di esperienze, sempre nell'ambito di videogiochi, comunque della grafica o dello sviluppo. E poi Yussi ha deciso in ogni caso di concentrarsi, prendere in mano le redini, diciamo, della parte del business, e si è occupato lui della parte economica, dello sviluppo di quelle che si sono poi le infrastrutture, diciamo, fare tutti quelli che erano i collegamenti per andare poi a creare quella che era la compagnia vera e propria. Mentre Yuko e il resto del team si sono potuti concentrare su quella che è poi lo sviluppo del gioco vero e proprio. E uno dei primi giochi che svilupparono è rimasto un prototipo, lo trovate poi anche sul sito della compagnia, viene spiegato di cosa si trattava. Era un gioco di pixel art che era ispirato in parte a quelli che erano poi i classici della LucasArts. Se non sbaglio, if I understand correctly, the first prototype of the game was kind of different from the thematic, was more fantasies, was a classic story. Some information about, you can say to us something about the prototype game?
Yeah, it was like Juho knows better, but actually we went back to the King of Peasant when we because we went like a full time. Lydia was released on PC on June 2017, and at the end of 2018 we went full time. So we all had like a day jobs, and we could quit those, and we went full on with the company. And the first project that we wanted to concentrate back then, it was King of Peasants, like the prototype game, but we want to do a new kind of approach to it. We want to make more like a less like a point and click adventure game, because we thought that there wasn't that like a large audience for the game, because as a startup we want to make a safe bet, and we wanted to make the King of Peasant more like an action adventure game, in the sense that more like a classic Zelda games, and 2D moving around with the beautiful watercolor backgrounds, and like a really like a light puzzles, and the battles that were important part of the story and the setting. They were meant to be like this, like a rhythm game mechanics. So that we have a demo for that, and we actually have shown it to like several publishers. But unfortunately, even we weren't satisfied with the demo ourselves, so we put the King of Peasant back to the shelf. Yeah. So, but it's there, and maybe someday when we have enough resources, we will take it back, and we will go back to like a classic point and click formula and do like a really old school adventure game about King of Peasants. That would be really cool.
I was quite interested. There is quite interesting from the Arab public, also for me, to know how you passed from this kind of game to Lydia. Was my curiosity. Thank you in any case. I make this translation. I will continue with the next questions. Quindi ci stavano dicendo i ragazzi, il primo prototipo era un po' differente, aveva anche degli elementi di azione, c'erano ovviamente meno puzzle, era un approccio differente come tipo di gioco. Solo che la demo che avevano fatto, diciamo, non li aveva ancora soddisfatti proprio appieno. Era un gioco che probabilmente più avanti riprenderanno in mano, perché comunque le meccaniche erano interessanti. Però invece di concentrarsi poi a tempo pieno su un progetto di più ampia portata, o comunque più nelle loro corde come la Lydia, che effettivamente è un'avventura appunto che picca per certi aspetti più tradizionali come gameplay, poi con le tematiche sono comunque più, magari ecco, non sono un po' fuori dagli schemi, sono differenti, sono più maturi rispetto alle classiche avventure che poi troviamo vendute ovviamente su Steam. Ecco, non è il classico Mari Deponia o un Detective Gallo, effettivamente magari lo stile può ricordare lo stile classico di un'avventura quasi a cartone, poi le tematiche sono del tutto differenti. Allora, thank you for the answer. I continue with the other question. Why do you chose the name for the studios? Who chose the name for the studios?
You can tell this one.
Yeah, basically because we were. This is a pretty long story, and I hope to be able to tell it so that it makes sense. Back when we were considering on setting up this company with Henry, because we were short on money, and we decided that we could make this. Jussi probably knows what's the correct term in English. It's avoid yhtiö in Finnish.
Yeah, because in Finland, it's hard because there are not like a similar kind of company in other countries. I think it's pretty unique for Finland. So basically, it was like a form of company which is aimed for like a really small companies, and you don't. Back in the days, we had like a legislation was so that if you want to start like a limited liability company, you would have to have like several thousand euros of money before you could start the company. So that was it.
Yeah, so we were thinking about this avoin yhtiö, this basically open company, which required that if we would use an English name, that it would have to be a partnership mentioned somewhere in the title. And we were tossing around ideas on what to call the company, and then Henry had the idea to slate the company as Platonic Partnership, and basically it's that became the name of the company because we were and the reason for that is that we were trying to save some money, and eventually we did set up this limited liability company. I think that's the correct term, but we decided to keep the name anyways because it sounds nice and we have a wicked logo.
It choose like together, especially the logo with that Henry designed. It's a combination of the meme, this one meme, and then like this Greek kind of part, like Platonic, as you can see. So it's like a weird combination of all these things. So it doesn't make much sense. But good thing is that it's really it's easily, especially when you went to like different conferences, etc. You can really stand out the crowd because of the logo and the name of the company. I have had like several people approach me to say, hey, that's cool company name, stuff like that. So a cool logo because it's something completely different than other companies. So I think it's an advantage for us.
Yeah, and I posted the link to the meme we used on the chat.
Thank you. I hope I have understand correctly the creation of the name, because the thing I can say, I make the confusion at the beginning because normally we say platonic relationship is quite deep. This like a game, it's quite a joke. So the first time that Michele said to me, maybe is not correct the name of the company. Understand.
And that's also sorry, that's also like it's a fun because we are like we are four guys making games, so we are as a Platonic Partnership. It's a really dumb joke also, so it's a
I make a little translation for the in Italy. I ragazzi dovevano aprire il nome della compagnia, hanno scelto, diciamo che ve la faccio semplice perché ho capito in parte, sicuramente Federico la faceva meglio. e devono scegliere comunque un nome per la società, cui servivano comunque tanti, in ogni caso un po' di soldini, come succede anche qua in Italia, comunque serve una base per aprire una compagnia, come tutto. Hanno scelto questo nome che mi sembrava comunque interessante. Diciamo che loro facevano effettivamente, erano 4 persone che stavano creando il gruppo, era effettivamente una partnership per più persone. Mi è venuto poi in mente il nome insomma, Platonic, anche come legato a un po' come la relazione platonica che viene utilizzata di solito, e hanno deciso poi di scegliere questo nome, è piaciuto anche al pubblico, è piaciuto a tutti, e hanno deciso poi di dare questo nome alla compagnia. Diciamo, ci sono anche altre storie che potevo raccontarci un po' più approfondite, magari lo facciamo in un'altra sede in questo caso, così almeno riusciamo ad andare avanti. Thank you guys for the answer. I try to move another question. Let's see. I want to ask to you something about the decision to make adventure game. Why you started? No, you also make the first prototype game. But why you decided to pass to the point and click adventure or the graphic adventure? It was your desire to create narrative games? Was more simple to create classic point and click respect to the other genre?
I can answer that if that's okay. Basically, I think the biggest thing is that we all love these point and click adventure games. That's probably the biggest reason. But other very good reason is that if you want to make a game with a small team, this kind of narrative-driven point and click game is a very good way to go, because there are these set of tools that we use ourselves, and there's not that much. You don't have to worry about controls, artificial intelligence, multiplayer, and that kind of stuff. Creating that kind of things, it takes time, and for me personally, the games have always been, this a means to tell a story, and making this kind of graphic adventure, narrative-driven experience. It's for me, it was pretty obvious that we would use this kind of approach.
Yeah. And I want to add that also, because all of the core 4 founding members of the company, we all have backgrounds in different forms of narrative fields. Juho has he's a journalist. He has written non-fiction books. Henry, he has done he has been working with comics from several years. He has released his comics, has been published internationally. And then Juhana, a coder / composer. He has background in telling stories via music. He has a degree in movie music conducting from Sweden. So he tells stories via music. And I have been doing this a silly, crazy short movies since I was a little boy. So we have different. We have experience from different narrative fields, and besides games, in a sense that our core team comes. Of course, we all we love games. We have played games. We are working around the games. Juho has been writing these reviews for the games for the Pelit magazine in Finland several years. But none of us have actually made a commercial game before we started the company. So that's also something that we all have a background in narrative fields, different narrative fields, and that's a perfect combination to mix it all together and shake it a bit, and then voila, there you have an adventure game.
Also, in this way, you have the possibility to show different point of view and approach to the stories for the money aspect, because any one of you have a different experience. How you say it? So every one of you can give a different contribute to develop the game. It's beautiful, quite good thing. It's like a natural combination that go in the same direction. I hope I understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I
approach that like a group of superheroes for some math. I make the translation for the public. Allora, diciamo che il background che hanno tutti quanti i ragazzi che formano il team era comunque legato all'ambito delle storie, della narrazione. C'è chi si è occupato come Yuko ha scritto libri, ha scritto recensioni, comunque ha avuto un approccio, ha avuto diciamo, nella sua carriera lavorativa anche un approccio che diciamo che si parlasse di storytelling fondamentalmente. Gli altri membri del gruppo c'è chi c'è stato il compositore che comunque scriveva anche musica per i film, e l'altro membro del gruppo, adesso devo ricordarmi il nome, più che altro me lo ricordo, e era invece un fumettista, quindi scriveva comunque storie a fumetti, disegnava, avevano tutti approcci, lo stesso Jussi, non mi sbaglio, aveva diretto, comunque si è occupato anche di film quando era più giovane, quindi avevano tutti comunque un background che li avvicinava proprio per le loro corde allo sviluppo di quelli che erano poi le avventure, storie, diciamo, progetti di videogiochi tipo story driver. Quindi comunque fosse importante la storia, dove fosse importante la narrazione e la presenza di protagonisti. Oltretutto, diciamo che è stato anche funzionale scegliere quello che erano le avventure grafiche come genere, perché almeno come diceva Yuko, era più semplice in molti aspetti programmare, perché non c'era un'avventura grafica, non devi andare a pensare a quello che sono l'intelligenza artificiale dei nemici o alcune meccaniche troppo complesse, quelle che possono essere soprattutto negli strategici. Un'avventura grafica, per quanto abbia bisogno di molto sviluppo, almeno per certi aspetti, è più semplice, perché ci sono anche dei buoni tool per poter sviluppare. Pensiamo al Visionary Studios, a Adventure Game Studios, e quindi diciamo era come per un piccolo team di formato comunque di poche persone, era la scelta più naturale poi per andare a inserirsi in quello che è un mercato che stava nascendo. O per lo più, essendo uno dei primi progetti che hanno sviluppato, l'avventura diciamo era la scelta naturale per poter iniziare. Thank you guys, I make the translation for the public. Now I will ask you some other questions about the company, and also you can speak about the game. I would like to ask you, how has been difficult to create your first commercial video game, and how is difficult to create video game in Finland? There is some kind of support from the government. It's difficult to find the funds to create the video game. How is the indie scene in Finland?
Well, I can start, then Juho can go deeper to the Lydia stuff. But overall, Finland is one of the best places in the world to develop games. And unfortunately, we have this one instrument that is available for like a new indie companies. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the amounts have been a total grant amount has been cut in half. So so that not that many companies can get the fund in order to make it like a demo of the idea that the game idea that they might have. But in one way, Finland, like I said, it's the best place in the world to develop games. And one of the reasons is that we are a small country, and we have a really tight connections between companies. And the companies here, we are more or less doing the competing with the world. It's like a world against us in a way that we are really collaborative. If we want to know something about some specific like a business thing, we can contact people within like a large limited liability companies, large companies, and ask them, and most likely they will give us the answer. So people are really willing to help each other out, because like most of the we have like a really small internal market here in Finland. All the games that we make, they are sold all over the world. So we are not competing with each other. We are like helping each other out. We are really celebrating if some of the companies makes like a huge hit, or makes everybody's like showing their support and uploading for them. So Finland is a great place, but still I would say that really typical problems when you're starting the company. You will have to if you don't get investor money in, then you have to go the hard road as we did. So you will want try to find a publisher for the games that you might have, or most likely you will have to do some like a contract job for other bigger game companies. So that's something that most of the indie companies in Finland do, and that's really popular way to fund your own development. So you like do this like a contract jobs, and then or every like a whenever you get a extra time at your hands, then you can develop your own game ideas. So that's like a but I think it's pretty typical for like every, not it depend, well, all, it doesn't matter where you are, you have like you face the same like a struggle, I would say.
Understand. Thank you. I will make a little translation. You published the game alone without the help of the publisher, is correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because we actually we didn't even try to contact any. No, it was like we just wanted to do it ourselves because we want to learn also in a way that, and I think that we didn't even like because as I said, we were like doing this as a game development as a side job. So I think that we didn't even understand what it would mean to have a publisher for a game back then. In a way that, of course, we knew that, but because we are doing a side job, we thought that it wouldn't make any sense for us to get a publisher because we are doing this like evenings and weekends, etc. So we weren't like a full time, so it didn't feel like a real opportunity or chance for us.
Understand. I will make a translation, and also after Yuho can continue with the answering the question. Allora, come ci stavo dicendo io, la cosa buona che c'è in Finlandia è che non c'è un mercato proprio gigantesco per la parte dei giochi, per la parte dello sviluppo dei videogiochi, quindi molte delle compagnie diciamo tendono a fare rete, quindi magari anche quelle piccole sono aiutate anche da quelle un po' più grandi. Si riesce ad avere delle risposte o comunque avere delle indicazioni su come muoversi senza troppe difficoltà. Da questa parte c'è una buona collaborazione. C'è il network fondamentalmente, che qui magari nel resto di molti paesi manca fondamentalmente. Poi qualcosa si sta muovendo anche in Italia, noi abbiamo visto come ci hanno raccontato i ragazzi di Footprint Games o quelli dei Monkey Tale Studios in ogni caso. Quindi c'è buone possibilità che questo modello riesca a svilupparsi anche da altre parti. Per quanto riguarda lo sviluppo del gioco, diciamo, servono sempre, hanno scelto i ragazzi di non rivolgersi a un publisher direttamente, dato che comunque diciamo, quando hanno avuto in mente di crearlo era comunque un progetto che li impegnava non a tempo pieno, quindi era un progetto che era a cui hanno lavorato diciamo, per lo più nel tempo libero fondamentalmente, quindi la necessità di avere un vero e proprio publisher che spingesse poi nello sviluppo, almeno nel primo motivo non c'è stata. Hanno deciso poi di muoversi probabilmente in maniera differente poi per quelli che sono i titoli successivi. Magari lì la possibilità, hanno visto che comunque i titoli che stavano producendo erano titoli che hanno avuto un certo impatto, tutto Lydia è stato un discreto successo, si hanno poi optato per altre tipologie di promozione nei titoli successivi. I make the translation for the public. You, if you want to continue with answering the question.
Yeah, just for could you please repeat the question on what was exactly the things you wanted to know?
Correct. The difficult. The question was how has been difficult to create Lydia in this time, and also the situation of the market in Finland. Probably you see as well that was in the before. If you want to extend the answer in some way.
Yeah, sure thing. Basically, what was the most difficult thing in Lydia is probably it would have helped a lot if we would have, at least one of us would have delivered a game before that, because like Jussi mentioned, we are all pretty narrative-driven people, but we have come from several different directions to game development, but there was not a single person in the team that has delivered a game. the idea for Lydia, it was actually pretty organic, the process of, because Henry and I, we were thinking that we need to do something a bit more, smaller scale to get the ball rolling. And we got this idea that, there isn't a game about substance abuse from a perspective of a small child. And that actually resonated very well within us. And we started thinking that we can use our own personal history to, really driving the point of the game, which is that, child is powerless in these kind of situations. You just have to go with the flow because you are not in charge of your life. The adults around you are. And we actually made the design document in 2 days from start to finish. And when I was preparing for this interview, I went through some old stuff of mine. And it's a funny thing. I found the initial design document for Lydia, and it's basically one-on-one to the completed game. So it really, we had the idea, and it was delivered almost one-to-one to the design document. And that's probably something that has never happened to me after, because no matter you're writing a news article or a book or game, it always changes quite a lot. So in that sense, the initial design and these initial ideas and how we want to, what we want to achieve with the game, they were pretty clear and well defined. And I think the biggest issues were that, we were working on definitely on too tight of a schedule, and we didn't have the proper understanding on what it means to make a game.
I think it's quite normal, because was the first second experience, if you consider the prototype.
Yeah.
It's quite normal for the new studios. We know, we have experience with other guys from other Italian indie developers that narrate to us the same kind of stories. There is also every time there's not the right idea of how many times you will and energies you need to create the game. There is also every time a question of times, because you have an idea in your head on the paper, and when you pass to make the games, the time large, you need more competence from it's not, I don't know if the correct word probably, but also in the working on the game, the problem resolves themselves without problem. We can say is a kind of I don't know this exact thing. Is you need to work on it, and you find the solution for the problem. This is the meaning of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Sorry guys for the confusion that I
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just one more point to that, because one thing that's worth mentioning is that when we're talking about the King of Peasants, I mentioned that we were using this German adventure game software titled Visionary Studio on our project. We were actually we were probably halfway done with Lydia on that platform, and when we did, and then I tried Unity and this adventure creator plugin on that, and it was like a curtain had been pulled over my eyes. You could do basically anything compared to the Visionary Studio. So once we were halfway done with the game and we were already running on very tight schedule, we decided to change the game engine to Unity. So that it was a right call, and everything went a lot smoother once the transition was made. But that meant that I was the one who worked with Unity and scripted the game. And like I said, I'm no programmer, so I got familiarized with this Visionary Studio. It took almost a year, to understand how it works, and then make a switch to Unity in January, and the game was released in June. So it was a very interesting experience.
Also, I know that Unity is used for the console porting in general, maybe while Visionary Studios is not supported, or it's quite difficult to make a conversion. It's correct.
Yes,
I think the translation for Nintendo Switch, as example, need to make it in Unity. It's more complex to use it, but it's more simple to convert the game for the other platforms.
Yeah.
So this is quite one of the aspects that it could be better for a developer to use the more complex tool, but you have more regulation. It's more simple to make also to port your game on a bigger market.
Yeah, there's definitely room for both of these tools, but and I think Visionary Studio would have worked if we would have made the initial King of Peasants, because it was this traditional point and click adventure game. But Lydia, it was basically, I wouldn't even describe it as an adventure game. It's a narrative experience. I think it's the proper term to use on that. So it really benefited on switching to Unity, and because for example the camera control, you could make these really smooth little transitions to feed the atmosphere, and everything from audio to animations and basic and of course the scripting, it was so much easier and more intuitive, and like you mentioned, the porting to other platforms, it's a lot more smoother than with the Visionary Studio.
Although back in the days, sorry.
No, sorry, to continue. I make the translation after your answer. No problem. But speak without problem.
Yeah. I was about to mention, although about the porting, we didn't have it in our wildest dreams, we didn't think that the game would be translated to other platforms. We were super proud and happy to get it on PC. But fortunately, we did it on Unity, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to. I think that was still a crucial moment for the company to move to Unity, because without the porting to because first we ported the game to on mobile devices. Here in Finnish version of the game is available for free in Finland, because national alcohol monopoly published the game here in order to prevent alcohol related abuse and harm. So that was one of the starting point. That helped us to go full time.
Yeah, just clarification that here in Finland you just can't go and buy a bottle of vodka from the supermarket. We have these dedicated shops for that, and they are overseen by government.
Yeah.
There is control also for this. It's quite a good thing. In Italy there is not there is not this kind of problem. There is self-control. There is also the problem with we have other kind of problems. The alcoholism is not one of them.
Yeah, and this in Finland, the whole politics around alcohol, it's a pretty weird, because we had this a few years back, the maximum voltage of alcohol beverages in supermarkets was 4.5% of alcohol, and they actually had to make a bill to the government so that they can lift it to 5.5%, and there was this worry that there will be hundreds of thousands of new alcoholics on the streets once this is made.
Deaths of people will die of alcohol poisoning, something crazy.
It was crazy, yeah. And this is, we're not joking. They were actually worried about this, and nothing happened. We're still alive and kicking.
Yeah. Actually, one thing happened. The overall alcohol consumption went down after they released a stronger beverages to the market.
Yeah, and I as a beer enthusiast, it's a wonderful time to be alive. You can get all kind of weird stuff from markets nowadays. It was just before it was just this. Have you guys ever tried Finnish beer? It's disgusting. I
try to make a translation. E allora, i ragazzi ci stavano dicendo innanzitutto come è stato sviluppato il gioco di Lydia. Innanzitutto era un gioco che voleva parlare di quello che era una tematica importante come quella comunque degli abusi delle sostanze, fondamentalmente dell'alcol, e l'hanno voluto fare vedendolo poi da un particolare punto di vista, che è quello di Lydia, che comunque è una bambina. Era una cosa che ci tenevano poi comunque a fare, questo li ha comunque anche aiutati ad avere diciamo, visibilità anche per il prodotto, che comunque era diverso dal solito, era interessante, è una tematica che diciamo che è molto sentita a livello sociale poi in Finlandia. I tool che hanno utilizzato, le difficoltà che hanno avuto nello sviluppo del gioco per lo più erano che non tutti avevano un passato da veri e propri programmatori, non avevano mai fatto un gioco prima d'ora come lavoro principale. Come diciamo, c'è chi è stato come io giornalista, c'è chi ha anche saputo delle basi di programmazione, chi ha fatto il compositore, e quindi i primi lavori che hanno fatto sono, diciamo, il primo, diciamo, lavorare anche su Lydia è stato un po' lavorare facendosi le ossa anche sul gioco. Lydia è stato inizialmente sviluppato utilizzando Visionary Studios, che è un tool con cui venivano fatti i giochi, ad esempio, dalla Dedelic Entertainment, quindi il Deponia, quindi con cui viene fatto anche Zack McCracken di Green Time Awards. Sono vari titoli che poi hanno utilizzato quel tool che comunque per l'avventura è molto potente. È un tool che però non è difficile poi da utilizzare per convertire addirittura su altre piattaforme. Infatti poi Lydia dopo un periodo in cui venne sviluppato col vecchio tool, si passò a Unity e ai plugin per sviluppare le avventure grafiche. Questo gli ha semplificato un po' la vita perché comunque erano più semplici da utilizzare per lo sviluppo diciamo, di conversioni per quelli che poi erano a piattaforme come Nintendo Switch, che comunque usa Unity, e erano più facili anche soprattutto per quanto riguarda la gestione della telecamera, dei movimenti, cose che con diciamo, i plugin di Unity sono un po' più automatiche. Con Visionary Studios invece sono un po' più complesse fondamentalmente. Quindi da questo punto di vista hanno avuto il passaggio, per quanto all'inizio ci hanno dovuto sbattere un po' le corna, diciamo, o comunque hanno dovuto fare un farci un po' la mano, alla fine gli sforzi che ci hanno messo li hanno un po' ripagati, perché li hanno semplificato parecchio la vita poi soprattutto per portare poi il titolo su mobile, quindi anche su iOS e Android, e su poi le confatture recenti. Guys, I make the translation. I tried to speak also about the alcohol problem and the problem about the selling of the alcohol in Finland. I understand only a part of the second part, but probably the public, we have a good, quite a good members of the group live in other countries. Someone from Belgium, Holland, someone in England. Probably they understand your answer in any way.
Yeah, let's hope so.
I will add the subtitle from with Michele and Federico. I'm sorry, I am not quite perfect English. Also, at the last, not for answering. The good
we need, yeah, you do great job.
yeah.
I'm sorry for this in any case. But speak now about the game. So wait a minute. Allora, also I said before, you created at this time 3 games in these years. The first game was Lydia. I will make some other 1 or 2 questions about the game. Also, you created the Good Morning that has been published this year in April, is correct? And there is also a third game in development. Is developing from your studios. I would like to ask you about something about Lydia and also about the Good Morning. This way we can make a good advertising for the new project. If you want, or in any case. So you decide how you want to speak about one of the 3 games. There is no problem. We have time, you know. How many times you need to create Lydia, the complete game? 1 year, 6 months, and how many people worked on it? Because you said you are 4 members of the group, but I understand there's other people that work with you with like a collaboration, if I think is correct.
I can start, and you see if you can check that I remember to mention everything. It was August 2016 when we had the initial idea, and that was when the design for the game was formed, and we started making it right away with the Visionary Studio. And in January 2017, that was when we made the switch to Unity. And around that time, the company was founded.
Yeah, company was actually officially founded in March, 17th of March, I think.
Yeah.
But it takes time before it gets registered, so around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, but the release date of the game, it was 4th of June 2017, 4th or 6th, I'm not sure. It was early June of 2017. So
months, not a date, no problem.
Yeah, but it was a pretty damn rapid project, because we had the idea on August, and then we developed it halfway, scrapped it on January, and we started basically from the scratch, and we did it twice, and it was released in June. It was a pretty crazy project because basically Henry described it pretty well. It's basically a game jam type of game, because we did stuff on our own in our own locations, and then we met up during weekends, and then we made the game like crazy for 3 days straight. And very fond memories of the project, but it was it was a pretty damn taxing one.
Also, you want to add something you say about this? You have other to say about...
It's pretty nice like a sum up for the whole process, and it was really crazy fun time, but at the same time it was really, like Juho said, it was really like I don't think that we could have been we could have done it longer, because it was really like taking its toll on us, like a development process. It's like and actually the date of the release, it was basically come by that, because we initially wanted to release the game a bit later, if I remember correctly. But then at one stage I tweeted, it was like a semi accident, or like as a joke, or I tweeted that the game is coming out on the 2nd of June. So that was then set to be our like a deadline for the project, and it was like a crazy time. I remember like patching the game when I was on the going to the summer holidays with my kids, and I had to. Juho called me that the game is broken on Steam. I had to like pull over at the local like a nearest gas station and go there and open my laptop and update the game. Juho sent me a package that I just uploaded to the Steam, and Juhana, who was finalizing the score for or did the score for the game, he was mastering some audio files at this like on the streets. He was going there somewhere, and we were like in a super hurry, and he was like I had to stop on the street and master some audio files there and sent them to Juho, and then Juho put them onto the game and stuff like that. So it was really hectic time.
Yeah, and and I think probably one of the biggest issues was because the lack of testers. We could have used at least a couple of dozen of them, because everything worked like a charm on our computers. But when we uploaded the game to Steam and we released it, it was about 2 seconds and someone said that your save system does not work. And that's stuff that I still have nightmares from, because we tried to patch it for I think a full week, because there was something inherently wrong in the script, and it's because it's my fault. Some of the data, it wasn't recorded when the game was saved, and we couldn't figure out why it was that. And I remember that week because I went to work at 8 and I got home at 4, and then I opened the laptop and I tried to figure that stuff out until 3 a.m. and there was 5 of these days, and I think we released 3 or 4 patches, and which didn't, fix the issue. So I had to write the save system from scratch, and it's absolutely terrible, but it works. And I remember when the Henry had a breakdown when the Switch porting was done, and there is this because the save system accesses some specific data points which cannot be accessed that often. So there were many issues because of this creative solution for the save system, and they came back to haunt Henry years after the game was initially released.
Understand. I will make the translation for the guys. Allora, come ci dicevano i ragazzi, diciamo che creare Lydia ha avuto le sue, è stato comunque a parte anche una sfida, ci sono stati alcuni problemi tecnici, più che altro per quanto riguarda la pubblicazione sulla piattaforma di Steam. Sul computer fondamentalmente andava più che bene, poi nella pubblicazione online ci sono stati alcuni problemi tecnici che poi hanno dovuto aggiustare con delle patch nel corso del tempo. Comunque in ogni caso non so se sono state risolte senza problemi. E quello che poi ci diceva Jussi prima era che oddio, guys, I forgot the answer of Jussi. I'm sorry, the first part. And the problem of developing, what's the problem exactly? I missed the first part you said.
Yeah, I actually cannot remember it myself either. I don't remember what I said. What was it? Can you remember what?
I'm sorry.
What was the question?
Can you? I don't remember what I said. Something about the problems of developing. What were the problems? I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, it's PTSD. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I explained to the guys that there was some technical problem with the publication of Steam, and you resolved the problem after some week ago. After some week after the publication. And now I remember the answer that you made before about the time for creating the game. I will make the translation. I ragazzi hanno impegnato, diciamo che fare Lydia è stato comunque un gioco realizzato comunque in molto poco tempo. Loro hanno iniziato il lavoro nel 2016, a gennaio del 2017 hanno fatto il cambio dal Visual Studio a Unity, con la plugin per le grafiche, e poi a giugno il gioco è stato pubblicato. Quindi materialmente è stato fatto un gioco in 5 mesi. You created the game in 5 months, we can say, for many aspects. Because if you consider that you restarted to the January and finished it to the June, is correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Like we can say, you make it running in any case. Also considering the high quality of the game. This was Lydia received the good reviews for the games, for the thematics. You gave. Even if in a small time we at work.
Yeah, it's something that we can be really proud of, and Juha did like most of the heavy lifting with the scripting, because none of us knew how to handle Unity, and Juha was the one who took that burden to carry it on. So
yeah, and I'm extremely proud of how it came out, and after the release I've been thinking quite a lot, because there's always something you want to change, but with this game I wouldn't change anything, not one thing on it.
Guys, give me a minute. I read a message from the chat. Just a minute. Let's see if the public have some question about for you. Just a second. Meanwhile, Michele is writing something for you. Allora, okay, now, okay, thank you. Allora, the guys made your, you said to you, you have great job. Michele said to me, do you want to launch the trailer for Lydia? You have agreed with us, we can make a quick break and show the trailer for the game.
Great.
Michele, when you want, quando vuoi Michele, parti pure. Ciao ragazzi, rieccoci con la seconda parte dell'intervista ai ragazzi di Platonic Partnership. Ragazzi, adesso continuiamo un po' con qualche altra domanda, parleremo ancora un po' di Lydia e poi facciamo delle domande riguardo ai nuovi titoli che hanno sviluppato successivamente. Guys, now I will make to you some other question about Lydia, just one other question. After we speak about Good Morning and the other title is you are developing these days. The third title will be published in 2021 or 2022 next year. What do you think about? How was going the work about the game?
You mean that are we planning to release new games
Yes.
during next year? Yeah, actually, we have plans. We have like currently we have 2 projects underway. One that we cannot yet say anything about. Then we have
want to, yeah, definitely. We would like to talk about it.
Yeah, but later. And then we have this game called Levalutta. It's based on a book of Finnish horror author named Marko Hautala, and basically he's like a Stephen King of Finland, so he's a big name here, and his book has been translated to other languages too. And that game Levalutta is like a 2 or like a side, like an adventure game. Well, it's an action adventure game, and there are like a small puzzles that you will have to complete, but the main focus is on narrative. It also has the game is like a really bleak, like almost like Lydia. It has like a black and white graphics, but the graphics are made out of like photographs, like collages of photographs. So it's a pretty unique looking game, and the premise of the game is that you play this like a nurse who takes care of this older lady in like an abandoned house, and then things start to unroll there. But it's not your basic like a horror game in a way that there are no like jump scares, but it's more like a crawling under your skin and making you feel uncomfortable in a way. That's the goal of the game. And also it has like a deeper meanings or deeper like a layers in the game too. That's something that we want to raise these like a social questions with this game too, like how we take care of our elders. Like we have like that's one of the themes that the game wants to like make a stand on that topic too.
Understand. I make a little translation for this part. After we come back to speak the last question for Lydia. Allora, loro adesso stiamo parlando su un terzo gioco che è tratto, the third game will be an action adventure game, is correct? Or point and click adventure with some elements of action. Is correct?
Yeah, well, basically action is like there is you complete this like a simple puzzles.
Simple puzzle.
Yeah.
You will use the mouse or you will use the keyboard, the joypad to move the protagonist?
That's a good question. Actually, nowadays, because our like a primary platform for the game is Nintendo Switch, so that's the like a main platform. And when it comes to PC, we don't yet know what the final control scheme will be. Most likely, it will be like a combination of keyboard and mouse.
Understand. Allora, come dicevamo, anche questo gioco non dovrebbe essere un'avventura appunto diciamo totale, diciamo completa fondamentalmente. Diciamo sarà un po' un misto probabilmente tra quello che sono elementi platform e elementi di avventura. Quindi ci sarà probabilmente una combinazione sia del mouse e della tastiera che del mouse che del joypad. Quindi sarà un po' una cosa combinata. L'importante ci saranno molti elementi diciamo, l'elemento principale sarà comunque basato su quella che è la narrazione e la storia. Ci saranno anche qui temi importanti che verranno affrontati. E la grafica, temi più che altro sociali, stanno dicendo i ragazzi. E soprattutto la grafica assomiglierà in parte a quella di Lydia, si dirà ancora una volta il bianco e il nero. E le tematiche fondamentalmente non dovrebbe essere un gioco che diciamo che non farà tanto più altro, non sarà un gioco dell'orrore vero e proprio, però sarà un gioco che comunque è disturbante per certi aspetti, sarà un'atmosfera un po' particolare, un'atmosfera un po' estraniante, ed è basata sul romanzo di uno scrittore finlandese. The writer of the original story is from Finland, just is correct? Is correct. Well, after we put the link, the description in the video. Thank you for the answer. I will after we will show also a little preview. I hope that next month we can make a new small interview with you about the specifically a preview about the game. Maybe a writing interview if you want. So you can speak something about the second game. Good morning, if I remember, is correct. I see it on Steam some weeks ago. When you started to create the second game, the idea about the second game, what the protagonist, the story, can you speak? Tell to us something about. Make the promotion.
Go ahead, Juho.
Yeah. So this was a brainchild of mine. And basically, the idea is that after the release of Lydia, it's a very linear experience. Once you have played through it, you have seen all. So I was starting to think about a game that this narrative-driven game that you had to actually play through several times to and it would the story, in a sense, it would remain the same, but you could every time you play through it, you would view it from a different direction. So that's basically the core idea of Good Morning. It's this run-based visual novel where you have to complete the game several times, and in every playthrough, the content is randomly chosen, and it was a very, very good idea on paper when I was, figuring it out. But once I started creating the content, it became obvious that if you want this kind of randomized, it's not randomized, but if you want to have this kind of content that varies from playthrough to playthrough, you need to have a buttload of it. It's basically you see around 20% in each playthrough, that stuff. So you can imagine how much you need to create content if you want the player to play through 3 to 4 times. But it was a pretty fun project, and basically I just for me personally, it was this basically a programming exercise, because I wanted to see if I could make a game, and the themes revolve around there is a very good word in Finnish, it's taakkasiirtymä, and there is not an exact translation for English to that. It basically means that it's this generational shift of baggage, that you have made some bad choices, but if you don't resolve them, they are transferred to a new generation. So basically, the idea is to investigate this protagonist's life, and pretty sure I'm going to spoil the game. So if you don't want to,
let the public to discover.
If you basically the idea is that you will repeat the mistakes of your parents, and the idea is to break the cycle.
Mm-hmm. So in some way you can learn from the errors. This is the idea.
Yeah, and there is this. It's a pretty interesting. So you're guiding this protagonist only in these overworld levels, which are these side side-scrolling levels, and every time you initiate this dialogue scene, you talk to an NPC character, the viewpoint changes. So you'll never play as the protagonist in these levels. So it's a pretty neat concept that you lose control. You always experience these basically memory scenes from another perspective, and I think it created a pretty nice effect on the the concept of main character that you could play around.
So the main protagonist is not the same every time. It changes.
No. Yes, he is the same in these overworld hub levels, but every time you talk to an NPC, it initiates this this memory scene, and there the main character is always somebody else than the guy in the these hub scenes.
Understand. How many times you spent to create the game in this case?
Excuse me, can you repeat, please?
How many times for Lydia you created Lydia in a few months, and for Good Morning, when you started to create the project, the idea for the game, and the final product?
Well, it's hard to pinpoint the exact starting date for the project. I think it was somewhere. It was just before the pandemic broke. I think, yeah, we're just learning the ropes of Unity, and there's some personal stuff behind it. After Lydia was released, I basically I had a burnout, and a lot of other things in my life went sideways. So this was basically a project where I had to learn that stuff all over again, and it was pretty cool project in that sense, as well, as I was able to pull this kind of thing off. And I think the biggest thing I learned from Lydia was that there's no need to rush. This was made, I think the project started in March 2019, and the first version in early access, it was released in October, I think, somewhere around that, and it included about 50% of the content of the final game, and then we added stuff monthly, and it was in April when we got out of early access.
Now the game is completely
it's
a complete game.
Yeah, it's now done. It was fun to we could iron out the biggest bugs, and we got some feedback on the content, so we could take the audience into the process as well. And yeah, it was we doubled the content. I think there's roughly 100 different levels, and you could see about 10, 15, 20 of them depending on playthrough. So there's quite a lot of content, and there's this branching dialogue. So when you play it, if you get a bad luck on this randomization thingy and you have to play through a similar scene, there are these different routes from start to finish. So you can make these different dialogue choices. So basically the concept of replayability is if you think this game from a mechanic point of view.
It's like I'm sorry I interrupted you. It's like It's interactive. In Italy we have the libro game, interactive game books with different paths. Also you can make this decision, move to another page. The structure is similar, I think.
Yes. It's a pretty similar.
But it's a form of game that many people appreciate. I've seen, because it's quite different from a simple book. There is more interactivity, but it's a good I would like to you can explore the character and the story.
Yeah, and it is a visual novel. I think that's the closest. It's basically, we coined it first as a walking simulator, but it's much closer to a visual novel. The style is of course a bit different than in this majority of visual novels, and the reason for that is that I made the graphics for the game, so I'm no graphic artist. So that was pretty interesting, because I have never worked with game graphics before, and I had to find this kind of a style that would look pretty cool, but it wasn't overly complicated. And I think the game looks pretty awesome, and of course Juhana Lehtinen's amazing score. It really elevates the whole thing. But yeah, it was a very interesting project, and I'm pretty happy on how it turned out. But I think that probably the biggest issue is that it's a pretty hard thing to compartmentalize, and if you want to do an elevator pitch on the game, the core elements in 20 seconds, it's a bit hard, and I think that's probably the biggest issue of the game.
I want to ask you how many endings there are for the games totally. How many times you need to play it to finish to the 100%?
I need to do a bit of math. There's basically, I think it's around, I would say 10, maybe a dozen. But then there is this hidden ending, and I think nobody has yet uncovered that. It requires very good luck to uncovering these missing ticket pieces. But yeah, if there's any players who play this game, we would love to know that have you achieved it. Please take a screenshot and maybe post it on Steam. We would love to see it. Not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty cool ending.
Understand. Allora, we make the translation for the guys. Allora, il gioco, fondamentalmente, il secondo gioco che è uscito che è Good Morning, è stato iniziato progettato verso il 2019. Poi c'è stato tutto il periodo della pandemia. I'm sorry perché I'm looking the smoke in the windows of Michele. Meanwhile, is smoking. Maybe it's got fired. It's burning. And come vi stavi dicendo, il gioco fondamentalmente ha impiegato in questo tempo un po' di più, all'incirca un annetto, perché considerando che il gioco è stato comunque progettato nel corso del 2019, gli è impegnati per tutto il 2020 e è uscito poi ad aprile del 2021, proprio quest'anno. È stato un periodo di beta testing in cui sono stati ammesse, sono state poste tutte le meccaniche del gioco, perché rispetto a Lydia questo è un gioco meno lineare. Come stavo dicendo con i ragazzi, è un gioco che assomiglia per di più a quello che potrebbe essere la struttura classica di un libro game. Quindi ci sono la possibilità per il personaggio di interagire con altri personaggi, fare varie scelte che poi cambiano gli esiti che sono all'interno del gioco. È molto più simile a una visual novel, come potrebbe essere magari le visual novel quelle più recenti tipo Steins Gate. In questo caso quindi magari una scelta va a influenzare poi quelle che sono le relazioni con gli altri personaggi e scelte successive. L'idea poi alla base del gioco era quello di sviluppare una trama che parlasse anche in questo caso di tematiche sociali. Per lo più il fatto che, insomma, diciamo che è anche un racconto a riguardo a quello che sono le generazioni, quindi come le persone magari tendono a fare gli stessi errori dei genitori o possano imparare anche dalle esperienze passate degli altri per cambiare quelle che sono poi le azioni che vengono compiute. È una storia molto complessa per molti aspetti, molto profonda soprattutto, e poi ha tantissimi finali differenti. E poi, infatti, per poterli completare tutti, come succede in molti questo tipo di giochi, si ha la possibilità di fare varie run. Quindi non fermatevi magari a fare la prima partita, ma per scoprire tutti quelli che sono tutti i vari aspetti della trama e anche i vari vivi che stanno presenti all'interno, è necessario fare almeno 5 o 6 run sulla stessa avventura. Come dicevo, ogni volta comunque cambia, ci sono alcuni elementi ed eventi che sono costanti, altri che sono completamente randomizzati, quindi varieranno ogni partita. Thank you guys for the hour. I try to make the complete translation of what you explained to us. And something about good morning in this case. And you think that you will convert this game for other platforms, also this for mobile and Switch, on for now only for PC. You heard me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jussi, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Could you please repeat that?
I want to ask you, Lydia has been converted from Nintendo Switch and mobile. You think Good Morning will be converted, will arrive to other platforms like Switch, Xbox, and mobile? It's look like a more complex game respect to Lydia. I don't know if it's more difficult to make a port in a small time.
Yeah, good question. Actually, we are in talks with one publisher who's interested in porting the game Good Morning to other platforms, but we cannot say anything about that at this stage. But it's looking good. So hopefully we will get Good Morning to other platforms too, not necessarily on mobile devices, but on other consoles or on consoles. Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
I have seen that for maybe Nintendo Switch at the moment was on the perfect platform to make conversion also with PC. Maybe because it's portable, I found that many adventures on the platform. Maybe because the adventure is this genre more similar to the casual gaming. For the console like Xbox and PlayStation, it's quite more difficult to find classic adventure. Daedalic ported the example, Deponia, and some other adventure, but are not too much as like on Nintendo Switch. It's a good. There is a good public in this period, and is also more visibility for the game for developer, and also especially for the indie developer.
Yeah, and I personally love Nintendo Switch. I think it's it's the only console in this generation that you can actually find on stores. But yeah, it would be pretty awesome to see Good Morning on Switch as well. And I think it was. I remember when Lydia was released on Nintendo Switch, and you were able to buy something that you were a part of making, and you know. If someone had told me when I was 6 or 7 years old that one day you would be making a game that is available on Nintendo hardware, I wouldn't have believed it.
I remember, yes. Nintendo is these days accepted many of indie developer and point a lot of his library of adventure games, visual novel, interactive narrative-driven games. There is also some games developed by Nintendo from their studio, inside studios. But it's a good thing also for the genre to be discovered from a much bigger public. For a person like us that love the adventure games, a great thing. Also, there is the possibility to see other companies that start to invest on adventure games. If I think the example to Timbered Park have a good the great success of Nintendo Switch more than on PC, for example. And I want to ask to you, thank you guys for the question, the answer. I want to ask to you something about now about not only about Lydia. How is important for you use the game medium to narrate stories, to speak about important social themes? You think that the video games are a good medium to speak about something that normally is not spoken in other medium? Ad example, it's quite difficult to find Ad example, TV series that speak about alcoholism, abuse, is sometimes is quite normal that you see this in the movies, but in the literature. But not many of these make a good explanation, or they tend to make all the same kind of point of view. With the media, you give to us a different approach. They give to us also the possibility to explain, to tell about something that normally you have not in contact. How is it important video games like a form of art for you or in general?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. For me, I think if you want to create something that you want people to relate to, and I think games are an excellent medium for this, because well, if you take a Lydia, for example, I think it would have worked as a children's book or animation, but I think the biggest impact the story has is when you play it. Although it's very linear and there is not that much of choice available, but when you have to guide this main character through her life, you grow attached to her, and basically the selections you make, they are your own. And I think in some regards, well, it's not just Lydia, it's games in general, that you know, project a part of yourself into the main character that you are playing with. And that's the unique power of video games, and it's basically, and I think that's in the core of this medium, and that's why they are a pretty damn powerful storytelling devices, because not in the movies you can of course relate to the main character. The same goes with the literature, but when you're playing a game, you actually become, in some sense, that main character. And when I mentioned about this, you know, linearity and the choices don't matter, that's a conscious design choice in Lydia, because you are playing as this small girl in a world of adults, and the idea is that basically everybody is making choices for you, and you have to live by them. And so there's basically an explanation because why the game is constructed this way, and you really need to have this in a form of a game so you can truly experience it.
Okay. Yeah. I make translation. Diciamo che con Lydia hanno pensato soprattutto di dare un approccio un po' di un punto di vista differente, ma rispetto a quella che era una tematica un po' classica, diciamo, come diciamo prima, che viene affrontata normalmente magari su altri medium. In questo caso in Lydia viene data ad esempio una prospettiva dal punto di vista di una bambina che subisce quelli che sono i problemi poi di una situazione in cui ci sono una situazione di disagio, comunque c'era l'alcolismo di uno dei genitori. In questo caso qui si è visto come si parla soprattutto delle scelte che vengono fatte per conto da degli adulti per un bambino, e tu subisci quelle che sono le scelte e le conseguenze delle loro azioni. In questo modo, diciamo, i ragazzi hanno cercato di dare un altro approccio, magari quello che non è totalmente mainstream, magari un punto di vista che normalmente non viene mostrato dalle persone. Insomma, non viene mostrato dal medium in quelle che sono le classiche storie che vediamo poi scritte nei libri o in TV. Guys, thank you for the question. I want to ask you last question. You think that you will continue to use the video game like a form of art to speak about important theme, or you will try to narrate also different kind of stories in the next games? What you desire for the future exactly?
I think, on the contrary, we want to push like a social commentary even further with our upcoming games, and because there are we think that there are like a huge potential for games. Exactly like Juho said, games have like a huge potential. They're like a lot of power, and they can conceive or they can tell the stories, and they can conceive the message really like really with a hard impact. So we will definitely keep on using games to make like social commentaries and like make stories that will hit you hard, I would say.
Yeah, and you know, And I think that's probably our niche, where we can, really find our small space in, because nobody else does exactly the same kind of stuff that we do. And I really appreciate games that have a deeper meaning, and I think there's also some sort of responsibility, tackle these issues that you think that demand a broader audience, especially this social stuff. There's a lot of fixing to do, and I think if we are able to, shine light on this stuff with our games, then we should definitely do it.
Okay, thank you. I mean, translation, and after we can say bye to our public. Come dicevano i ragazzi, loro l'intenzione sarebbe quella di continuare a seguire quello che è stato il percorso che hanno iniziato, quindi continuare a utilizzare il medio videoludico per parlare di tematiche sociali e fare soprattutto di storie e racconti che normalmente non vengono affrontati dai medium di massa, quindi parlare soprattutto su temi sociali di grande impatto, in modo anche da lasciare il segno e poter in qualche modo non diciamo influenzare, però comunicare qualcosa a quello che è effettivamente il pubblico, e quindi fare comunque giochi narrativi che abbiano un grande, soprattutto un eco a livello sociale. Quella è la cosa importante, quello che sono dati come obiettivo soprattutto. Guys, I completed the interview. Thank you for your patience. I think that you are quite tired probably also. I, Michele, and Federico will continue to promote your game in the next days and weeks after through our social and our blog and also other different medium. I hope that we will see you again in the next months to speak about your new game. And we will show, Michele probably will show now the trailer for the new title, Good Morning, at the end of the interview. Ragazzi, invece noi ci vediamo anche settimana prossima con un'altra intervista, come vi saluteranno anche nel frattempo Michele e Federico che stanno in chat, stanno chattando con voi. Vi ricordo che stiamo sempre su tutte le piattaforme, quindi Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Discord, abbiamo anche il profilo, il gruppo su Telegram e anche ovviamente il gruppo dei Mangiavventure, che è poi quello delle grandi avventure grafiche anche su Facebook. Noi ci vediamo la prossima settimana, grazie per la pazienza per stasera e facciamo salutare i ragazzi del team che speriamo di vedere nelle prossime settimane. If you want to say bye to our public, and we can say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, I can confirm. It was a pleasure talking with you. It was really super fun experience, and take care and see you. Play games.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty cool talking with you guys. I really loved every minute of it, and hope to speak to you soon, sometime again.
Thank you so much. Bye Michele. Buonanotte ragazzi.
This is the birth of regular Joe. He is like anyone. This is the birth of regular Joe. He is like any one of us. This is Joe in love. This is Joe buying a burger. And did we mention that Joe is dead? This is regular Joe.